Next up on my Steam library, I'm playing Neon Struct. Neon Struct is a first-person stealth game. It's a cyberpunk setting. You play an agent called Gillian Cleary. Now, I don't know if the developer of this game ever heard of the famously super camp English television personality of the 90s, Julian Clary, but the name seems a little too close to be a coincidence, but maybe it is. But they bear no resemblance other than a similar name. She is a spy for an agency, and she's tasked with getting into various different places and stealing information. It's purely a stealth game. There's no combat on your part anyway. You can be obviously shot at by the enemies and beaten up by them, killed by the enemies, but you never engage in any combat yourself. You're purely sneaky all the way through. The graphic style is very early 90s, as is some of the soundtrack. The art is very retro to that sort of period, and whether that's off-putting for you or not will kind of depend on your personal preferences, but it is very square, very blocky. The character models are very basic with virtually no sort of detail or facial features or anything. The animations are very basic. When you take down an opponent, you just hit the takedown button and they just drop like an Italian footballer. There's no takedown animation at all. So very basic on the graphics and animation side of things. But it is developed by a one-man studio, pretty much. Just one dude did everything apart from the music, so it can be kind of forgiven for having that sort of very basic look to it. The stealth gameplay itself is pretty solid. It's not very deep. It's not very technical. You've just got your simple light meter in the middle of the screen, bottom middle of the screen, that shows you kind of how visible you are. Obviously, the darker the room, the darker the shadows, the less visible you are, and you just sneak around based on that. Using your takedown to take down enemies or the guards. Yeah, don't have to. You can try and do the level without it. You do get some gadgets to help you along, hacking tools and little grenades you can throw that make areas of darkness or scramble the circuits of cameras and surveillance robots. But all in all, it's pretty basic stealth gameplay. The AIs on the enemies aren't that good. They're very easy to evade. Sometimes you can be running away from someone and just run into a dark corner, even though they were looking straight at you. They will get confused and kind of and not come after you anymore. So yeah, pretty basic AIs, quite easy. But it's got a reasonably decent story. Things do take a bit of a twist as the story goes along, and you're presented with something of a decision at the end to decide the fate of the game. All in all, I enjoyed it quite a lot. It weren't too bad. It was for a very basic game, a one-man game. I'd be proud of it if I'd made a game like this on my own. So yeah, not too bad. Its asking price though is $11.99, which maybe is a little bit, over the top. I think I finished it in under 4.5 hours. And being so short and so basic, I think $11.99 is probably a little bit overpriced. Look for it on a sale between 50 and 60% off. I'd say that would be much fairer, more reasonable for what you're likely to get out of it. And obviously, if this kind of graphics style or indeed just pure stealth gameplay puts you off, then you're not gonna enjoy it, and I'd give it a miss. But if you like stealth games and if you don't mind the retro 3D graphics, then yeah, give it a look. This is Neon Struct.